this is the second episode of the review series on the channel. In review, I go back and re-review games that I've already played and beaten and did reviews on to see if, maybe I was too harsh, maybe I was too emotional within my review. So with that being said, let's get into the review for Paper Mario Origami King, the re-review of Paper Mario Origami King. In this video, I'll be going over the positives, the negatives, and what I would have done in order to make the game more appealing, or, nitpicks or whatever, if the negatives outweigh the positives, or, why this game got a good review. So with that being said, let's get to it after the cut. So here are some positives about Paper Mario Origami King that most people will be like, oh, I can't believe this. One of the major positives is the game is legitimately gorgeous. There's a lot of shit going on in the game. And never has the Paper Mario universe been as interactive as it is in Paper Mario Origami King. You can damn near interact in some way, shape, or form with almost everything on the map. Even inconsequential things, like you can step on flowers, you can hit flowers, you can jump on flowers, you can pick up stuff, you can throw stuff away. I mean, there's just a lot of shit going on in the game, for good or ill. Now, to be fair, this isn't a condemnation or anything. This is just me stating a simple fact. There's a lot of stuff going on in the game, a lot of interactivity. The writing is actually a little inconsistent. Some writing in the game is really good. Some writing in the game is kind of sappy and corny and a little overly simplistic. So it's just kind of inconsistent with that. But overall, there's more, adequate to good writing than simplistic and kind of overly sentimental. So the game just has a lot of stuff going on, and I like that. I like that there's a lot of stuff going on in the game, that it's not just, oh, you did this, well, you got to do it. So with that being said, other positives. The combat in the game is the most complex it's been since Paper Mario 1000-Year Door. Still not as complex as that game, but it's far more complex than what you had in, let's say, Sticker Star, Color Splash, stuff like that. Super Paper Mario. So there's a lot of depth going on in the combat for this series. It's still not to the level of Origami King, but 1000-Year Door, but it's not overly simplistic like Color Splash. It's literally 3 steps forward, 1 step back. It's not as far as I would like, but it's still not like, oh my god, this is unbearable. So that's kind of the combat in the game. The story is there. The story is better than what you had in Sticker Star And I would say it's a little bit worse than, the story is a little bit worse than, it's worse than Color Splash. It's better than Sticker Star, worse than Color Splash. The story isn't nearly as good as what you had in Thousand Year Door, though. So, once again, a few steps forward, a few steps back. So with that being said, those are the positives. Notice I didn't say, party members or anything like that. So with that being said, let's get to the negatives. Okay, so here's where the negatives come in. So there is a severe lack of companions in the game, permanent companions. You get temporary companions in the game, and all of them are kind of interesting. The problem is that they're only temporary, or only for certain areas of the game. You get a Babam companion who sacrifices themselves in order to open up a new area of the game. You get a treasure hunter who's kind of cool, but unfortunately, they kind of just go away after you leave that area. Like, the problem with the game is, essentially speaking, everything in the game is designed to have a very kind of disposable, your companions have a very disposable nature to them, where they're only there for a certain amount of time and then they go away. Like paper. Pun not intended. So, I mean, it's one of the major issues with the title is just how poorly your companions are utilized. And the sad thing about the game is that there really were, there's some really cool areas in the game that had the game had better direction and, had permanent companions, there's some pretty cool set pieces that could have been utilized in the game. For example, there's a part in the game where you go to this kind of the equivalent to a Toho Studios ninja-themed backlot / amusement park thing, and it's this is really neat. This would have been a cool place if they had a ninja as a companion. Have a ninja as a companion, so when you have that companion with you, Mario's attacks become ninja-like. When he dodges, he just disappears. When he counterattacks, the enemies hit him, but they turn into where Mario was turns into a log, and then he counters attacks and does certain types of damage to certain types of... That would have been cool. That shit ain't going to be in this game. This game is a series of, that's a good idea, too bad it was only halfway, half-baked. And that's kind of the problem with Paper Mario. Paper Mario Origami King is very much oh, that's a good idea, too bad it's only half-baked. It's a series of good ideas that are half-baked. And that's kind of, to me, that's the principal flaw with Paper Mario, is that it's very much oh, this was a cool idea, too bad it's only halfway there. And that's a flaw with the title. Next, another example of this, the story. The story could have been really interesting. Unfortunately, the story ideas are only ever half baked. They're half baked. It's oh, this was a cool idea. Too bad it's half baked. And that's kind of the flaw with the title. You have these elemental guardians. Okay, that's cool. How did these elemental guardians become corrupted by the Origami King? You get no answer to that. It just happens, and this is just a vehicle for your companion to get the ability to turn into these elemental guardians and use their abilities against certain monsters and bosses. It's like the game, everything in the game is just an excuse to do something interesting instead of driving along a narrative or an interesting gameplay mechanic that's built upon. No, just an excuse to tell a stupid joke. And the sad thing is that we've seen better from the Paper Mario series in terms of these types of mechanics. Like Color Splash did this better. It wasn't perfect, but it was done better. Thousand Year Door did both of these aspects better. And that's kind of the flaw with the title. The greatest insult to injury to the game, though, the thing where I'm just like, okay, this is just fucking terrible, is the game just kind of like doesn't have a really good resolution to things. It's like the game is built upon puns and jokes, not good gameplay. Which my gameplay complaint leads to your boss fights. Now, in the game, your typical boss fights take place in a coliseum, where, I mean, it makes sense because a coliseum is the logical progression from the theater that you had in Thousand Year Door. And one of the scuttlebutts behind this game is that Intelligent Systems wanted to make a game that was like the evolution or the next step from Thousand Year Door. And, going from a, single stage theater to a theater in the round, Coliseum style, that is very much the evolution of your typical, one stage play type thing that what was being done in Thousand Year Door. But the half-assed nature of the game, in terms of how they have a good idea but only halfway implement it, is that they don't really do anything interesting with it, aside from you moving enemies around and playing a push puzzle, which is just kind of stupid, in my opinion. I mean, it's interesting, but it's also kind of stupid. The game doesn't have experience in the conventional sense. In order for you to use any of your special abilities, they use money. And in order for you to use any of your other shit in the game, it uses, you either use money or you use, like you have to activate your abilities by finding like a star bit or some shit. I can't remember. But basically, the game just kind of has a lot of good ideas poorly implemented. Your boss fights change up everything by just turning up into a straight up like puzzle where you move along a map to a certain point, like a board game. Good idea, half-ass implemented. So, I mean, the game is just, like I said, a series of good ideas, just kind of half-ass implemented. So with that being said, how could you fix this? I'll get to this in the third part of this video. So I guess we should start with combat. The problem with combat in Paper Mario Origami King is it feels like they want to cater to two different crowds. The game wants to be kind of simplistic so that kids can play it, but it also wants to appeal to old school Paper Mario fans. And the two crowds are mutually exclusive. Having boss fights where you have to figure out a push puzzle, which, to be fair, some people are not good at 3D or board game style puzzles. They aren't good at that. Not that they're not intelligent, they just aren't particularly good at that particular style of puzzles. Some people are really good at three-dimensional puzzles, but you show them a riddle and they're just completely out of it. Other people are really good at limericks and shit, at those rhyming, those Asian-style rhyming haiku games, where it's like a word puzzle, but not good at other things. I think it was kind of a bad... And they try to get around this by, if you aren't good at this, you can simply spend in-game money in order to do this, in order to, fix this after the fact. Good idea, but here's the thing. there's a certain point in the game where you kind of need a lot of money, and that shit is expensive. Like, it gets expensive using, you know, quick puzzles and stuff like that. So the game is just a series of, like, okay, like, this is kind of half-assed implemented well. Like, the game, Origami King feels like there were two competing visions. Like, the team maybe wanted to do something, and then the director said, no, you're going to do it like this. And I think that it doesn't really work with the more simplified vision, you know, being borne out. As far as companions go, I'm not against the idea of temporary companions. What I am against are companions that literally just fucking leave you for story convenience and not because there's actually something useful going on. That's a problem. Your only real help in the game is your main companion, Sylvie, or whatever the fuck her name is, and she is basically the equivalent to the sticker bucket character in Sticker Star, or the Color Star character from Color Splash. I mean, it's like, could you please be more creative in your companion characters? Okay, like, seriously, what the fuck? This game has entire mechanics that they don't even tell you about. Like the fact that Mario can use his hands in order to fold up enemies. And you just happen to go up to a wall and you can do it. No explanation, just, hey, guess what? This is the ability. You can do it now. The game is just frustrating in how there's so many good ideas, either poorly implemented or half-assed implemented. And it's sad because I wanted this to be good. So with that being said, where do we go from here? Well, I mean, I think Sticker Star sold relatively well. Not Sticker Star, Origami King sold relatively well, so despite its issues, I personally would like to see them go back to a more traditional style of gameplay for Paper Mario games. I'm tired of trying to appeal to a more casual audience. Just because, I mean, the franchise is already casual enough, right? Like, do we have to go with, you know, ultra casual land? Like, for example, I would love to see a return to form where they're having shit like, you go to the Glitz pits and you face, like, you're in a wrestling match, like Rock against Rockhawk, or, you know, you're on a train solving a mystery like you did in Thousand Year Door, or, you know, you're helping, you know, even shit that they did in the original Paper Mario, where, like, you have to go to a haunted house and help this boo get her these boos who are being eaten by this fucking monster. Like, that's really cool. There is nothing like that in this game that's interesting like that. I mean, they do kind of have a thing where you have to fight a giant pencil that's erasing people, which just feels like a retread of shit that was done better in previous games when I really think about it. But it's still not well executed, is what I'm saying. So that's my issue. The game is just a series of, man, this was a good idea, too bad it was so poorly executed. Or this was just put here because it's a pun. So, yeah. So overall, I will give my overall thoughts in the next cut. I would say that my original review saying that this game was a D stands. It is still a D grade game. It's better than Sticker Star, about the same as Color Splash, but compared to the first two games in the series, it's just a little, it's very, like I said, it's very half-assed. It's like, oh, this was a good idea, too bad it's so poorly implemented. So, tell me your thoughts about Paper Mario Origami King. Agree, disagree? Is it a good game? Is it a bad game? Do you think we'll ever get a more traditional Paper Mario game with, great characters, great storytelling, companion characters with special abilities that let you traverse the environment? Anything like that? Are we going to continue to get the shit we've been getting, in my opinion? Give me your thoughts. Yes, no, maybe so. Or maybe you like Origami King, and if you do, why? Defend yourself. What valid reasons do you have to like the game? With that being said, that's the end of this episode of Review. Next time, I will be reviewing a game that I actually like and see if it holds up. It will be Fallout New Vegas. Yes, I will be re-reviewing Fallout New Vegas. Does it hold? Does it stand the test of time? So that being said, that's the end of this video. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. And remember, every Wednesday and Saturday, 7:30 p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a podcast based on talking about video games. This Saturday, we will be talking about the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck, the Intellivision falling apart, Avatar, Netflix getting into games, and all types of other things. So thank you, enjoy, peace, and good day.